Hello, thank you very much for coming here today. Today, how Melissa said, I will say about law of attraction. And I will try to give you some information which I got within last year or maybe a little more since I've been interested in it. But when I first heard of it, I felt like, I know about it all my life because through my life I had many experiences which kind of proved that it exists. There are different opinions about the subject, but we'll talk about it later. So what is the law of attraction? Many of you may be familiar with the term. I took the definition from, actually before the definition, the next one, the next slide summarizes it the easiest. Like attracts like. Here is more about the presentation of people, but it's not only about this, it's also about characters. So usually people attract similar people. And I don't know if you heard of people who break up with someone and then they get to exactly the same relationship, but with another person. It's usually if someone is has certain energy or certain view of life, they kind of attract people unless they change their way of thinking. So that's the definition from the Law of Attraction website. The law of attraction can be understood by understanding that like attracts like. What this means is that whether we realize it or not, we are responsible for bringing both positive and negative influences into our lives. A key part of law of attraction is understanding that where you place your focus can have an intense impact on what happens to you. And if you go to their website, you can read the rest here. But what it actually says is whatever we focus on, whether it's good or bad, will attract. And it's not only if we focus on good things, it's also if we focus on bad things. They kind of come to us. Sometimes we want one thing, but we worry about something else. And if we worry more that we desire, our worry can come true. So can modern science prove the existence of the law of attraction? Many scientists are saying that it cannot. Even like law of attraction gurus very often say that law of attraction can be proven by quantum physics or other sciences. When you go to the websites and I try to find like a scientist who is saying that yes, law of attraction is true, I didn't find it. I found contradictory information, but I found scientists saying the things which are part of law of attractions. So the first one, which I quote here, is Albert Einstein, who said, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics." And this is what law of attraction is. It's all about energies, all about frequencies, all about thoughts, because our thoughts also have certain energy. And something else, what is very important, he said, is imagination is more important than knowledge. And you probably know people in your life that maybe they have no much knowledge about a subject, but they have imagination. They create things like everything around us, what's here. It came into existence because someone came with an idea. So if the chairs which you sit on or the lamps which you have around, if these people didn't have thought, didn't make this energy, it would never come into life. So this is just a digression. This is a map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins, because Albert Einstein said about the energy, and Dr. Hawkins in his book, I think Force versus Power or something, he did a power of consciousness. Actually, this is not from his book because it was like more data-based, but this is like visual. He was showing the frequency of different people, and something what is very, very important for me as animal rights activist is that shame and guilt is one of the lowest frequencies. And what he did also in his book was trying to show that higher someone is in the consciousness, this person can influence more people. So what he said, in our human history, there were 3 people who he called Lord because they got the enlightenment. So it means they could influence like millions and millions of people over the ages. And in his opinion, it was Jesus, Buddha, and Lord Krishna. And it may be something about it. He, I don't remember if it was him, but someone assessed also that Gandhi had the frequency of 750, and that's how the British Empire kind of lost their battle in India. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's certainly something to think about. But coming back to guilt and shame, I've been to some demos where people try to shame laboratories or people doing something. I don't always, I'm not always true to my beliefs, but my belief is usually that everyone is good. There aren't bad people. People during their life go maybe the wrong directions, but they come from the position in their heart that they want to do good. You know, maybe Hitler, when he was killing Jews, in his mind, he tried to do something what he believed in. It's not what we believe in, but according to, I don't know, his knowledge, I don't know what it was, he tried to be true to his beliefs. So it's just that if we want to better, if we want to do better in our lives, we should try to improve. And if we improve in the scale of consciousness, we can influence more people. We can help people. Like if we, so you can see that, you know, there are like very low frequencies there, and if we are on higher frequency, and also Indra was talking a lot about love, and love influences people enormously. So if we go to meat eaters and we talk to them from the point in our heart that we accept them how they are, it's easier for us to get there on our side than if we go with hate and, you know, shame or guilt. They are very very low energies. And from my life, like I started before, we went to demo, I think it was in Cambridge, and we stopped in front of the laboratory, and people were saying shame, shame, shame on you. And I didn't know it before that I feel energy this way, but that moment I felt so bad, like someone was putting knife inside my heart. I felt like, you know, I have to get out of that crowd. I can't be there because I felt so weak in that moment. And I talked to my friend, and she started feeling exactly the same in the moment. More people were shouting, shame, shame, shame on you. Worse I felt, and the same happened to my friend. So since then, I'm trying to do more positive demos. And it was very interesting because I went to Cambridge to also Anti-Vivisection Demo like a few months later, organized by completely different people in completely different way. And it was more like compassionate way. And I didn't feel this. First, people didn't shout shame. They just went with their compassion, with music, more like going there from their heart that, okay, maybe these doctors test on animals because they believe it's needed, But we can show them in compassionate way that animals want to live, they don't want to die. Killing them doesn't help science, because many scientists are saying that vivisection is not scientific at all. But if we try to understand their point of view, it will be easier to explain our point of view. That was supposed to be a digression, but it went very long, I'm sorry. So that's another scientist talking about a law of attraction, or how I see it, law of attraction. Of course, it wasn't said this way. The atoms or elementary particles themselves are not, oh mamma mia, underneath, are not, oh, I can't go back. The form, I don't remember the quotation. The atoms are elementary particles themselves are not real something it was. They form a world, they form a world of potentialities or possibilities rather than one of things or facts. And I'm very sorry, I will have more quotes later on, and I hope they are not covered. What it actually says, and now again, quantum physics shows often that when we watch something, it can change the behavior of atoms or behavior of the things we watch. I don't remember exactly which research I read about this thing, but that was something what surprised me. And this is what he was trying to say in this quotation. And Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that is something what all scientists say it's not scientific, but for me, it's also kind of proof that a law of attraction exists. Because we all say that, okay, we need like a real medicine. But placebo, what to say about placebo? It's called a phenomenon in which the recipient perceives an improvement in conditions due to personal expectations rather than the treatment itself. And I'm sure all of you heard about placebo. Is there anyone here who didn't? So very often in research is that they use placebo to see whether people get better because of the medicine or because of what they expect. They believe that they got the pill to get healthy, but actually they get a sugar pill or something which is not a pill which they are testing. So if law of attraction wasn't true, if our thoughts were not able to change reality, how would this happen? How would placebo happen? And I choose also a few quotes from famous people who are known around the world. The first one can surprise you. It's Jesus. And I choose this quotation as first because when I was a child, this touched me very deeply. I couldn't comprehend it, and I said, it's like, I don't know how it can be possible. I can't tell the mountain to move. You probably know the quotation. So for most certainly I tell you, whoever may tell this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, and doesn't doubt it in his heart, but believes that what he says is happening, he shall have whatever he says. Therefore I tell you, all things, whatever you pray and ask for, believe that you have received them and you shall have them. If any of you is interested in law of attractions, most of the people are saying that if you want to something in your life, you can behave like it's already there. And I don't know how many times you changed your lives, but for me it happened that any time I change my way of thinking, my life changes dramatically. I never moved a mountain, and I'm still not able to do it, but I could see it happening in smaller things. And the next one. So this is again one of very well-known historical figures. What Buddha said, what are today comes from our thoughts of yesterday, and our present thoughts build our life of tomorrow. Our life is the creation of our mind. And one more, by the same author, the thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed develops into habit, and the habit hardens into character. So watch the thought and its ways with care, and let it spring from love, born out of concern for all beings. And I was thinking about these quotations when Indra was talking about stories, and she said that the word is so powerful and the word can bleed. I think it is in the way that first we think about things, that we talk about things. That's why very often in law of attractions people say to be very careful with words, especially when you talk about yourself. We often say, oh, I'm so stupid. We shouldn't say it because we kind of cast it on ourselves. And I still didn't learn it. I'm in the learning process because I think I'm the person who often called myself names, not necessarily very positive. But now, when I know about it, I'm more careful with it. And I believe that we should all appreciate ourselves more than we normally do. And then there is Mahatma Gandhi. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. And I don't know how many of you read his autobiography. Usually when he was thinking about something, he was putting it into life. And it's not just Gandhi. I think all of us, we start thinking first, oh, I want to be an engineer. And then we look for the ways to become an engineer. And people who don't believe it, say, okay, I would like to be an engineer. No, but I can't do it. I don't have money for university. I don't have this or I don't have that. Usually they don't achieve what they want just because they don't believe. And I think the next quotation is about this. We often become what we believe ourselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it makes me incapable of doing it. When I believe I can, I acquire the ability to do it, even if I didn't have it in the beginning. And here I have a story from Polish scene, from our musical bands. I don't remember, 10, 15 years ago, we had a guy who became very famous, but he couldn't really sing very well. And the first time when I saw him, it was in Gliwice. We had a student festival or something, and there was a scene where people were coming to perform, and that band came and they became like stars. Nobody ever heard of them before. And I was like, wow, that's weird. They were talking they came from an interview on radio, 1 or 2, and I was like, who are they? And I don't know if it took 6 months, 1 year, when they became very, very famous. And why it's so important is because he was already behaving like a star. Even nobody knew about him. He didn't have great talent, but he had the vision. He had the vision of who he wanted to become, and he did. And then William Walker Atkins, the best way to overcome undesirable, I'm sorry for my English, undesirable or negative thoughts and feelings is to cultivate the positive ones. And the other one, the presence of an active, energetic, successful man or set of men in a place will permeate the place with positive vibration that will stimulate all who abide there. And here I think I could say things about both of them. The first one, I think, for me, what helps me more, sometimes it's difficult to cultivate positive thoughts when the negatives are coming. But what is helping me usually is looking around and finding something what I like. So I see a flower and I say, thank you for this beautiful flower. Thank you is something what helps the most, because it's very easy to say, keep positive when you see negative things. But wherever you are, I can guarantee you, you will find at least one thing you like. Like, I don't know, this room is black, not very interesting, but then maybe the light is beautiful. I like blue color. I can say, oh, thank you for this blue color. There's always something. And I checked in different scenarios, and there's always something what is positive. And it's much easier when you get one positive thing, then you start seeing other positive things. And for the other one, you probably also experienced in your life that you were maybe down and your friend came, it was very, very energetic at the moment, and you kind of got the same positive energy. And some people just have this energy. There are probably people who are kind of energetic vampires, that when you are close to these people, you always feel like they are taking the energy from you. And there are others which do the opposite. You just want to be with these people because these people just emanate with positive energy. And Indra was here before, and I think Indra and Johnny, they are both this kind of people. Like, when you are around them, you just feel love. I don't know, it's when I met them first time in 2013, it just hit me so strong, because it's just, I don't know, it's everywhere around them. And I'm sure you have, people in your life that you feel that when you get around these people, you feel positive energy. And Ralph Trine, the law of, and that's the person from New Thought movement, so that's the movement talking mostly about the law of attraction. The law of attraction works universally on every plane and action, and we attract whatever we desire or expect. If we desire one thing and expect another, we become like houses divided against themselves, which are quickly brought to desolation. Determine resolutely to expect only what you desire. Then you will attract only what you wish for. And I think about this quote very often when I do demonstrations, because it happened many times that people came to demonstrations, and when we talk later, because we usually go for a picnic after a demo, and when we talked, they don't believe anything can change. So I always ask, so why do you do it? Because if I had to go on the street to talk to people only to make myself feel better that I'm doing something, it doesn't make any sense. When I go to the street and I talk to people, I do believe they can change. I did change. And I see every day people who did change. So I do believe in change. And what he's saying here is like, if I desire a vegan world, but I do not expect it, how can I achieve it? And I went to Ruth's presentation today, and at the end she asked again how many people believe it will be better. And we had few people on the left side who didn't believe. If you don't believe, how do you want to achieve it? I always say that, the world will be vegan, and I really believe that within the next 50 years, most of the people on Earth will be vegan for one reason or the other. And Mother Teresa. I was wondering whether I should put her or not, because some people have different thoughts about her, but she said something very, very important. That's something what I often think about. She said, I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said that that I will never do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there. And I think this is very, very important. As animal rights activists, we usually tend to fight against. And when we fight against something, we give our energy to this thing which we don't want. So what she was actually saying, she didn't want the war. She didn't want to go for the rally against the war. She wanted the rally for peace. Because the easiest way is to change what we don't want is to create something better. If we want to fight with the system which we have, it will burn us out. But people are very creative. We can always create something better. And then the most important part. Can we use the law of attraction in animal rights movement? Who believes that we can? Who believes that we can't? Is there anyone who doesn't have an opinion? Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, if what we mostly think of we attract, what would we better be thinking of? If it's true, what do you think? If really what we attract, what we think of, we attract, what would be better to think of? Love, yes? Change, vegan word, excellent. So, should we fight a bad system? Or create a better one? What could be more effective, fighting the old one or create a new one better? I think what we are already doing, part of vegan movement, is creating something new. Of course, there is part of fighting the old system, going in, to protest in front of laboratories, it kind of fighting with the old one. But we create also a lot of better system, doing like social gatherings, showing people how good vegan food is, or how nicely we can socialize without eating a dead body. That's a better future. Actually, who watched the comedy by Simon, what's his surname? Ausley. Did you watch it? Carnage, yeah. Probably it's known only in the UK. But it's a very, very, I can't say funny. For some people it's funny, I cried. But it's a mockumentary, that's how you pronounce it? It's like a future of the Earth. It's 2026, and the world, sorry, I think it's 2057, but the history, Moku history, is saying that in 2026, the world became vegan. And I watched it with my daughter, and I remember she was like, running everywhere, hurrah! The world, they said it's vegan. And then she looked at me, is it true? And I said, it will be, after a few years it will be. But if you haven't watched it, and I don't know if it's available on YouTube, but it's worth watching it, because we'll get there one day. And this will be this better system. And this is the system which we have now, so we can concentrate on this, or we can create something new. And that's what we already do, like Indra was here a moment ago, that's what she's creating. And from her own words, her stories are changing many people. She doesn't show them the groomy photos, how animals are treated. She doesn't tell them about animal rights. People or listen to stories, or they come and they meet animals. How is the world we know? Is this our world? Or is this our world? How you see, we can find both. One is the scene of war. I don't know if you can see very well. This is war, and this is a potluck. I don't remember where I took it from. See? I knew I took it from potluck somewhere, but I didn't remember from where. And both are true. So both are happening in our world. And it's up to us what we are going to concentrate on. So we can spend days and nights thinking about war and how bad the world is. But will we be able to live normally? Will we be able to create better world? Or we can concentrate on more positive things? And when we hate, what are we mostly like to attract? Love? Smile? Hate? Or love? When we hate, when we shout, when we do it with our family or on the street, and I'm myself guilty of it because sometimes, I'm still on the learning curve. But when we attack, people usually fight back. So when we love, what are we most likely to attract? Hate or love? I think more we come with love, more love we attract. And do you think feeling compassion for meat eaters can make our conversations easier? Who thinks it can make it easier? And who thinks it won't? So which do you think would be more attractive to a meat eater? This or this? Who thinks the fruits will be more attractive to meat eater? And who thinks the meat? Many of you didn't have an opinion. Last year, I did a presentation in my daughter's school, and this was a surprise and not really a surprise. I asked kids which is more attractive to them. It's an omnivore school. My daughter was the only vegan there. So it was a very, very small school. There was like 29 kids. And when I showed the fruits, most of the hands went like this. I think it was the most attractive moment for them during all the presentations. They just loved the photo. When I showed meat, I think there was only 1 or 2 voices that children said they preferred this photo. And it wasn't much about food. It was which they like more. It was about our eyes, about our vision, what we like, what's more attractive to us. So we should be aware that even when we talk to meat eaters, usually when they eat meat, they don't eat it in this form. They season it, they cook it, they put vegetables around, because meat in this form is not attractive. And now, which one is more attractive to meat eater? When they look at these animals, which one do you think they like more? The happy cow. Because even meat eaters, they want to believe that the cows have their happy life. So what can we do? I said, be a visionary. Imagine a better world, and I think Ruth was talking about Vegantopia today. We should imagine the world how we want to see it, and believe in the world how we want to see it. And these are some ideas of positive activism. This is VegFest from the UK, which every year attracts many people and many people of all different diets. This is the biggest and more powerful thing for us to use our food. This is just fruits, but it's not only fruits. The dishes which we make, they attract a lot of people. This is the vegan hike which we had in Poland this year. And also not all people were vegan there. And the lady in the hostel, she prepared a vegan meal especially for us, the first time in her life. At first when I called her, she said, no way. But then I wrote her in the email what vegans eat and so on, and she said, no, I don't know, I don't know how to do it. And then when I called her, I asked, like, but do you know how to make potatoes and mushroom? Yes, I know. Do you know how to make tomato soup without meat? Of course I do. Do you know how to make dumplings without egg? Yeah, I can do it. Hey, if you eat that, I can cook for you. And it's not enough she cooked for us. It was very, very delicious food. And my cousin came with us. She's an omnivore, and she told me that if someone cooks for her like that, she can be a vegan. So that's a very, very powerful tool. That's the presentation which I've done in schools. I blurred it a little because of the faces of children. But we had a presentation, and after presentation we had food samplings. So kids, of course, cupcakes disappeared first, but vegan cheese and even vegan salad. There was one boy who really was going to the salad all the time. But for children, I don't know how strong it was, but for the teachers, it was very strong. Like, they were coming to me later on saying, oh, but you know what, I watched something on television, that vegan diet is very healthy. Or, you know, I heard that being a vegan it's less likely to have cancer. And of course, I mentioned all the things during the presentation, but very shortly, because it's not very suitable for children. But the point was there, and it's a small village. In all village, we are the only vegans. And the last thing is London Vegan Meetup. I heard many activists in London, like I mean street activists, because that's also an activism, are saying, but these vegans from London Vegan Meetup, they don't do anything, they just post pictures of food. I think it's very, very powerful. I know people who just first, they watched beautiful photos of vegan food, then they went to taste it, and then they started coming more often, then they liked it, and then they became vegans. We can never say that, I don't know, posting vegan food is not an activism. It is activism. People from London Vegan Meetup very often go and ask for vegan options. I don't like going to restaurants where there is meat, but there are a lot of people who don't mind, and I think this is also very important activism, because it's not because of a few animal rights activists that now vegan options are so widely available. Very often it's because of meat reducers. They don't want meat which they don't know where it came from after, mad cow disease and, many others. They may eat meat at home, but when they go outside, they ask for vegetarian vegan options. And there are a lot of vegans who are maybe not very active in demos, but they are very active writing to companies and going to restaurants and asking for vegan options. So every single part of activism, if it's a friendly activism, I think it's a very effective activism. So that's all. Thank you very much.
We have 10 minutes for questions, comments.
Thank you. Don't get me wrong, but I think that we should work with many positive aspects of veganism, like animal sanctuaries are showing that, or even vegan foods and vegan fasts. But I always think that it's a whole mindset of different actions to motivate people go vegan, and not just this or just the other. I think it always goes hand in hand, and so I don't think it's a whether this or whether that question.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's why I said a moment ago that any positive activism is good. What I mean by this, if I'm doing demo myself, so I go on the street, I talk to people, but the demo which I mentioned before in Cambridge in front of the laboratory, shouting shame, shame, shame on you, it may be for someone else, but it's not for me. It may be effective, but for sure it's not for me. And because I got interested in the law of attraction, And if it really, I attract what I think of, if I think more about shame, if I think more about dying animals, it may not be effective. So I prefer to concentrate on positives.
But I think that these effective steps you're talking about are always grounded on some other actions other activists did, and even maybe with that negative activism that you call it. It's not just the positive. You have to show what is wrong with, if we are creating that world, what would be wrong in the world we have today. We have to show what goes on and what goes wrong in this world to motivate the people to think about that better world. So I don't think you told again that positive activism, and I don't think that it's only just that the way, even though if it's for you the best way, I totally agree with that. Everybody should do what is the right thing for him or herself to do, but I just don't think that it's just that.
No, the only thing which I call negative thing is if you shame other people. I started the Cube of Truth in Poland, so that's the, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. You show the people how animals are treated. But I don't stop there. Whenever I talk to people, you know, they need to know, or some people need to know, because you know, whatever demo you do, you attract different people. So, for example, when I do Awakening Compassion in London, I attract people who need the thought. So they think, oh, the animal is thinking and feeling, and it wants to live. That's what it says on our placard. This attracts one kind of people. With the Cube of Truth, we attract different people who, you know, who need to be shaken and, you know, see it in their eyes. But then, you know, I would never tell anyone to watch it every day. It's just if they already understand, what can they do to change? What can they do, you know, for the future, not to treat animals this way? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, maybe I come back later.
Okay.
Any others? Okay, well, there's a networking session and free food coming up, so if you want to talk to her personally, you can, or else go get some free food, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.